Your end of the commitment is to adhere to what you owe me. I don't want a penny more, but I don't accept a penny less. On November 13th, 2020, we almost lost our house to a fire. Fortunately, there were no injuries and we limited the damage. I grew up in a time and place where fire safety was drilled into us. School, scouts, summer camp, even Saturday morning cartoons told us what to do in the event of a fire. But while I was grateful for everything I learned about fire prevention and fire safety, I realized no one ever teaches us what happens after the fire. A minute ago, you and your family had a home. Now you're homeless. You got no electricity, you got no water, you got no internet. No one even knows. Your friends and family don't even know your house burnt down yet. So if you ever find yourself in the position we did, here's a few things to think about. A few tips, a few tricks, a few learnings I had from our house fire that I want to share with you. And first and foremost, if you've had a fire, there were injuries or even fatalities, I wish I could hug you through the internet. I wish I could just take you into my arms right now and give you a hug. Because I'm on the other side of it and I'm strong again, but I know what you're going through right now. And if there's any way for you to just give yourself a little squeeze right now on behalf of me, I'd appreciate that. The next thing I want you to do is lean on your friends and family. Get on the phone immediately and call somebody and tell that somebody to drop what they're doing. You need them at your side right now. And I don't care if you're a tough guy who never needs help. I don't care if you're one of these people that doesn't like to impose. Make an exception. This one time, call someone, ask them to drop what they're doing, and ask them to be by your side. I consider myself a pretty competent person, a pretty smart person, a pretty wise decision maker. But you know what? When you ran in and out of your house multiple times to get people out and grab a fire extinguisher and you're fighting a fire and stuff's blowing up and there's smoke everywhere and you can't see, your body sends out a lot of adrenaline and you ain't thinking right. My vision was blurred. I was covered in sweat and soot and dirt. I'd been breathing in all kinds of smoke and foul air for a few hours. And I needed someone to give me strength and someone to stop me from doing stupid stuff. Because when we're distressed, we tend to do stupid stuff. So tip number one, bring in the reinforcements. Shamelessly ask your friends and loved ones to be by your side and help you right now. Tip number two, as stressful as it may be talking to your insurance company, call them as soon as you can and open up a claim. The reason is your insurance company has all kinds of resources they can bring to bear to help you with your fire. In my case, within an hour of opening the claim, I got a call from my insurance company's relocation department who had a reservation ready and waiting for my family and I for that evening, which was a huge load off my mind because that was shelter, right? That's where my family's gonna sleep. That's where we're gonna get our next meal. Now you're still dealing in the immediate time frame here, right? You ain't worried about what needs to be fixed. You ain't worried about where you're gonna live long term. You still gotta think about today. What would you have been doing if the fire didn't happen? Are you expected to show up at work and work a shift tonight? Do you have kids at school you gotta go pick up? Do you coach youth soccer in the evening and people are expecting you to be there to coach their kids? I don't know, maybe you had a dentist appointment. Whatever the case may be, you got a bunch of phone calls to make, right? You got to let people who were depending on you later in the day know that you're not available. And not only can they not depend on you, but if possible, can you maybe depend on them for a little bit of help? And the fourth thing, which for me, having been through it, would be the fourth and final thing I would have done on day one if I ever have to go through this again, is sit down and make a list of the rest of the people in your life who you're going to notify and decide how you're going to deliver the message. For example, if you got to pick up your kids at school, practice through your head a couple times about how you're going to let them know that instead of driving home, you're driving to a hotel. Think that through because your kid's already going to feel trauma, right? If you got to pick up the phone and notify your elderly parents that live out of state that your house burnt down, don't lead off with my house burnt down. Lead off with, I need to tell you something, but first I want you to know that everyone's okay. Nobody got hurt, but this is what we experienced today. And then you've got other people, right? Cousins, friends, coworkers, that sort of thing. Maybe you just want to pick one or two of those who are close. Let them know what happened. Ask them to get the word out to everyone else and let everyone else know that maybe your responsiveness to their calls and messages is going to be a little bit interrupted for the next couple days and weeks. And at that point, I say you call it quits. You use your helper, you pack up what you can, and you go to whatever the temporary living arrangement your insurance company set up for you. Fill yourself up with nutrition and try and get as much sleep as you can. Now we're at day 2. Before we talk about anything else, you need to develop a filing system. So number 1, go onto your device. I don't know if you have a laptop, a pad, or PC, whatever the heck it is. If it survived the fire and you have access, create a file on your desktop for all of your insurance claim, all your fire-related documents. Because one thing I learned was my fire really affected a lot of people's memories, particularly the people who work for my insurance company. Nothing jogs a person's memory better than documentation. Make sure you get everything in writing and you keep every single shred of documentation. Now that you've met your immediate needs, you've got a claim open, you've got a filing system to keep track of all the paperwork, it's time to start thinking mid to long term. And the first thing you need to do is really start setting expectations with yourself and with your family members of how long are you going to be out of the house. If you've had a fire bad enough that you can't live in your house, plan to be out somewhere between 5 to 12 months. Do you feel like you might need a leave of absence from work? Do you feel like it would be better to immediately keep the kids in school and keep the routine going? Or are your kids the type that maybe they need a week or two to kind of process the feelings and, stay close to mama and papa? The bottom line here is that a contractor ain't just going to appear out of nowhere, snap their fingers, and next week you're going to be home. And you need to start preparing for an extended stay in temporary housing. Now the fun part, managing the process to get your house fixed so you can move back in. And the first thing you need to do is get a copy of your insurance policy and learn it front to back. Let me show you what a typical policy looks like. Think of this page as a summary of your policy. But here's the really important part. This is the meat and potatoes. Right here is this coverages section. And you see right here, it says coverage A, dwelling. Well, there will be pages behind this summary page that go into more detail about what coverage A, dwelling, covers. But essentially, that's your house. This says limits. So your house, in this case, the house would be covered up to $200,000. Coverage B is other structures, and there'd be a section for coverage B, other structures, with pages that describe what the other structures that are covered in your policy are. Coverage D, this is a big one, loss of use, and it says up to 12 months. And here's the limit, $40,000. So if you remember earlier when I was saying you want to choose a living arrangement, you need to make sure that whatever you choose the company to rent for you is going to be covered by this $40,000. So if you pick a place that's $4,000 a month, you can stay there for 10 months. So you need to be very aware of what your policy covers. Another very important piece of information you need to understand in your policy are your deductibles. Deductible means the amount of the claim that comes out of your pocket. For example, you may have a 2.5% deductible per claim. That means for every $100 they pay, you pay $2.50. So if your claim comes to $100,000, you have to pay $2,500 out of your pocket. Now we're making some progress. Your immediate needs are taken care of. You've got a place to live. You're looking at something a little better for your situation, some temporary housing. But most importantly, you now understand what's coming to you. You now understand what your insurance company is obligated to provide. At this point, there are multiple methodologies you can follow to get a contractor and get your money. I may not even be aware of them all. The methodology I chose to go with was that the insurance company has a partner, and that partner is a fire restoration expert. and they assign a project manager, and that person deals with the insurance company with all the quoting and estimating and getting funds approved, etc. And he also runs the project, so is a general contractor who brings in all the relevant workers and work that needs to be done. And in that situation, I'm taken out of the equation. It's the insurance company and their partner, who's a fire restoration company. They work it all out. They agree on how much the claim is going to be, and then they go do the work. And the only thing I'm responsible for is the deductible. So my guess is you had a fire. You're not sure what to do. You Googled what to do when I had a fire, or what to expect in a fire, and this video came up and you watched it. And I hope it was helpful. I sincerely hope it was helpful. What I meant when I gave you that hug at the beginning of the video. And you know what? I'm giving you another one right now. Just take this hug from me. So far in my life, this was easily one of the top 3 worst things I've ever had to go through. I don't know what's yet to come. And I assume that'll be the same for most of you. It's an extremely traumatic event. It's an extremely difficult event to get through. The good news is our avocado grove was unaffected by the fire. I irrigate that with a diesel pump. It was not affected by the loss of electricity, and we are loaded with avocados that we sell at guacfarm.com. guacfarm.com. We sell our fruit, we sell these t-shirts, we got stickers, and depending on what's growing and what we have in stock, we sell a lot of fun tropical fruit and tropical fruit trees and things like that out there. So if you like the look of this t-shirt, or maybe listening to me talk made you hungry for avocados, then go out to guacfarm.com. While you do that, I'm going to go to the kitchen and eat some pork and rice that was given to me by one of my friends who was very, very supportive throughout the fire, and someone I'm glad to have in my life. While I go eat that, you go to guacfarm.com, and I will see you on the next video.